Maayong adlaw everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here to my channel, my name is Cor and I'm your district nurse from Southeast England. Are you one of the nurses who have been struggling to achieve the desired scores for the English proficiency test? This video is for you, so please continue watching. October of last year, the NMC announced changes with the English requirements after receiving more than 34,000 responses from the public. According to their blog on their NMC website, this change will be implemented early of 2023. However, this has not come to effect yet. In today's vlog, I'm going to discuss to you the summary of that article and I'm going to share some examples for you to have a better understanding of these changes. So since these changes are not yet implemented, these are the required scores for a single result for your English proficiency test. Either you take IELTS or OET. So for IELTS, you will need to score 7 for reading, listening, and speaking. And for writing, you need to score 6.5. And with the OET, you need to score B for 3 domains, which are reading, listening, and speaking, and C+ for writing. So these are the minimum required scores for the English proficiency test in order for you to apply in the NMC register. So what are these major changes with the English language requirements? So the first one is with regard to combining test scores. In using 2 test certificates, the receipt was previously has to be done within 6 months, but now it is increased to 12 months. The combined test certificates must be both valid, meaning not expired. Now for the second change. The receipt scores or the retake scores are now lowered. So it means no score less than 0.5 for IELTS or half a grade for OET of the required score for every domain. Okay, so let me show some examples to explain it better. So in this slide on your screen, it shows the current required scores for English language tests, and on table 2, it shows the new minimum scores for each part of the test. So this change only applies if you are clubbing scores and not for a single take result. Remember, only when you combine test scores, not for a single result test certificate. The current required scores I have mentioned earlier for IELTS, it should be 7 in listening, reading, and speaking, and 6.5 for writing. As for the OET, you need to score B for 3 domains, which are listening, reading, and speaking, and score of C+ in writing. So in case you did not achieve the required scores in your first take, you have the chance to redo the test within 12 months so you can club your scores. So in clubbing your 2 test certificates, the other certificate must have scored at least 6.5 for 3 domains, which are listening, reading, and speaking, and at least 6 for writing. So in OET, you must at least achieve C+ for listening, reading, and speaking, and C for your writing. The reason behind the clubbing of scores is to give you a chance and more flexibility to achieve the minimum required score for each domain within 2 test sittings for a period of 12 months. Now, let me share to you some examples for you to have a better understanding of what these combined test scores mean. Okay, so with the samples I'm going to share to you, let me know if it's a valid or invalid clubbing of scores, okay? So for the first take, the examinee got 6.5 for listening, 7 for reading, 7 for speaking, and 6.5 for writing. And for the second test certificate, the examinee got 7 for listening, 7 for reading, 6.5 for speaking, and 6 for writing. So what do you think of this combined test scores? Is it valid or invalid? Let me know. Correct. It is valid. Now let me explain to you why these 2 test certificates are valid for clubbing scores. Okay, so let's assume the examinee is you and these are your test results. So in your first take, you did not meet the minimum requirement for listening, which is 7, because you only got 6.5. However, in your receipt, you managed to score 7. So that combined scores for listening are valid. For the reading, so it doesn't change because you scored 7 for the first take and for your receipt. For the speaking, the required minimum score is 7, so you got that one on your first attempt. On your resit, you are still within the minimum test scores if the change will be implemented, because it says there that you must not score less than 0.5 of the required minimum score in each domain, which is 6.5. So the desired score for passing the speaking is 7 for a single test result. However, in clubbing test scores, scoring 6.5 for listening, reading, and speaking is valid, okay? So as for the writing, so in your first attempt, you scored 6.5 and that's within the minimum required score. However, in your resit, you got only 6. But you can still use these 2 test certificates because it says it must not be less than 0.5 of the desired minimum score. So I hope it's crystal clear. So let's have another example of combining test scores for IELTS. And let me know if these scores can be valid in combining 2 test certificates. So in your first attempt, you scored 6.5 for listening, 7 for reading, 7 for speaking, and 6 for writing. So if you're going to use these test results alone, of course, it will not qualify you to register to the NMC because you haven't met the minimum required scores for each domain. In this example, in your resit, you scored 6.5 for listening, 7 for reading, and 6.5 for both speaking and writing. What do you think of this combined test scores? Can you use them or not? Invalid. So why do you think these test results are invalid and cannot be used in combining test scores? For your first attempt, you scored 6.5 for listening, and in your retake, you still got 6.5. So, in order for you to use this combined test scores, you must have scored 7 in your retake or in your resit. However, in this example, you got only 6.5 for both test certificates. So that is why these scores are invalid in clubbing scores. As for the reading, speaking, and writing, they are all okay. So the scores that pulled you not to qualify for this clubbing of 2 test certificates is your listening, because you didn't manage to get a score of 7 either of the first attempt and your resit. Now let me show you examples of combining test scores for OET. But before that, let me remind you that in combining test scores for OET, you must not have less than the half grade for OET of the required score for every domain. Okay, so let's go through these test results. For the first results, you got C+ for listening, B for reading and speaking, and C for writing. In your second attempt within a 12-month period, you got C+ for listening, B for reading, C+ for speaking, and C+ for writing. So what do you think of these scores? Would it qualify for clubbing of 2 test certificates? You got it right. It is invalid. So the reason behind you cannot use these 2 test certificates is because of your listening scores. In your first attempt, you got C+ and you got the similar score in your retake. It must be a B in your resit so that you can combine these test scores. Okay, let's have another example. In your first attempt, you got C+ for listening, B for reading, B for speaking, and C+ for writing. So you took another test to use for combining these scores. So you scored B for listening, C+ for both reading and speaking, and C for writing. What do you think of these test results? Would it qualify to combine test scores or not? Is it valid or invalid? So the answer to this is valid. So these 2 certificates can be used in combining or in clubbing your scores as long as you take these examinations within a 12-month period. Now let's tackle the third change to the NMC language requirements, and that is supporting evidence can be provided. So according to the article, they will accept supplementary supporting information from your employer as an additional evidence to prove that you have the ability to communicate effectively in English. So they will accept this additional evidence under the following circumstances. Number 1, you narrowly missed out on a score in one of the 4 domains by 0.5 in the IELTS or half a grade in the OET. So you still have to take your English proficiency test. It's just that you did not manage to achieve the required minimum scores. For example, for reading, you need a 7, but you only scored 6.5. And in your OET, you need to have a C+ for writing, but you only got a C. So another factor that they will consider an additional evidence of your English proficiency is that you must have worked for your employer for a minimum of 12 months within the last 2 years in practice in a health and social care setting in the UK. Yes, you heard it right. So your job must be relating to healthcare and you must have worked for at least a year within the last 2 years in order for them to consider your additional evidence of your English ability. And lastly, that individual that is going to sign your additional evidence must be registered to the NMC. So, in this article, it says, to ensure consistency and avoid bias, we'll also be producing a standard NMC form for employers to complete. Your manager will need to be an NMC registered professional and use this form to provide evidence of your English language competence. A more senior NMC registered professional who's working for the same employer will also need to countersign it. So in summary, you will need 2 signatures from 2 NMC registered professionals who are both your seniors in the same company that you are working for. So that paperwork might be quite challenging to achieve, but believe me, it's worth a try. If only these changes have been implemented during that time that I was struggling to achieve the desired scores for English tests, I would really grab this chance. Let me just emphasize this matter. According to the article, having a supporting information or evidence from your employer does not guarantee that they will accept you onto the register. So let's have a quick recap of these proposed changes for the English language requirements. First, the combining of test scores between 2 test certificates has been extended from 6 months. Now it's valid up to 12 months. And for the second proposed change is that the resit scores are now lowered. It means that for the IELTS, you must not score less than 0.5 in each domain. And for OET, it must not be less than half a grade of the required scores. And lastly, if you're one of the applicants that struggle to achieve the minimum scores for the English proficiency tests, and you are working in the UK in the health and social care setting for a year within the last 2 years, then you have the chance to provide a supporting document from your employers as an additional evidence of your ability to speak and write English. So just a reminder that these changes are not yet implemented. So you still have to score the current required minimum scores for the English proficiency test, which is 7 for reading, speaking, listening, and 6.5 for writing. And for OET, you will need to have B for reading, speaking, and listening, and a C+ for writing. To keep yourself updated, please check out the NMC website and scroll down the news section for you to know if these changes are now in effect, okay? So hopefully you have learned something from this vlog for the day, especially when it comes to clubbing of scores. If you are new here to my channel, guys, what are you waiting for? Please like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you soon, guys. Bye-bye!